world. So Helsinki isn't in that sense unique. It's just part of this like worldwide kind of net of Yiddish theaters and these smaller groups that did Yiddish theater. And in 2018, I received a scholarship from the Finnish Kone Foundation to research this material and to record these songs. And I asked Lorin Sklamberg from New York to join. And he gathered also other musicians from New York, Berlin, and Helsinki. And there were a couple of challenges with this material. One was who can actually sing these long couplets today in Yiddish? This is a real challenge. They are not easy to sing. So this is how Lorin invited Sasha Lurie from Berlin. She's originally from Riga. And another kind of question was, what is the style? How should these songs be performed? This isn't klezmer. So what is the style of Yiddish revue, cabaret music of the 1920s, 30s, and 40s when we didn't have any recordings? So this is how Lorin invited Michael Vinograd from New York to be the musical director and range of the music, but he also composed together with Lorin some of the melodies. And in 2021, these songs were recorded in Järvenpää, Treskenda in Finland, and the release concert was at the Alexander Theatre in the center of Helsinki in November 2022. And this was very successful. We had a full hall with 400 spectators, and it was quite amazing experience. So a little bit of about Weinstein. You can see him here in the picture. He's on the left side, standing there. He was born in 1883 in Helsinki, then the capital of the autonomous Grand Duchy of Finland. And his father was a Jewish soldier from the Tsarist army, and his mother was the daughter of a Königsberg rabbi. And the Jewish community in Finland was more or less everyone had this military background, because that was the only possibility to come to Finland in the first place. And most Jews in Finland came from Lita, from the realm of Lithuanian Yiddish culture, and also the dialect of Helsinki Jews is from those Litvish Yiddish dialects or subdialects. And Weinstein attended a traditional Cheder school. After that, a Jewish school in Helsinki, which is in the picture. And then after that, he went on to Swedish-speaking schools of Helsinki. That's because Swedish was more or less the main language in Helsinki those days. So it was kind of natural to go to a Swedish-speaking school. Then he continued to the Imperial Alexander University in Helsinki to study law. And when the First World War broke out, he fled first to Copenhagen and then to Stockholm because he wanted to avoid being drafted into the Russian army. The time he spent in Stockholm was very important for him for his later artistic work, because Stockholm was a center of revue theater, of music theater. So this must have had a very big impact on him. And in Stockholm, he married Rebecca Seliksson from Helsinki. And when Finland became independent in 1917, they moved back to Helsinki. And in 1922, Weinstein funded the Yiddische Dramatische Gesellschaft in Helsingfors, the Jewish Dramatic Society in Helsinki, which was modeled after hundreds of similar associations across Eastern Europe and in the States, in all over where Jews had settled in the world. And the goal of this society was to promote knowledge of Yiddish theater and also to provide entertainment to the Jewish community. They performed Yiddish theater classics, Sholem Aleichem, also Yankev Gordin, and other well-known. Sholem Ash, for instance, was very popular those days, and also, but besides these kind of more like bigger works from the Yiddish theater, the troupe or the group performed also musical comedies, operettas, and revues written by Weinstein himself. And here you see a program written in Latin or printed in Latin letters. This was very typical for the Jewish community in Helsinki, because there was no print house that could produce with Hebrew letters. So this became a norm to print in Latin letters. And at its peak, the society had more than 20 active theater enthusiasts, among them also some professionals. For instance, here in the picture you see Hane Slimovic, and she became in the 1930s a well-known film star under the name Hanna Taini. Those days, you couldn't make a career with the name Hane Slimovic in Finland, and there were also other Jewish artists and performers who had to change their names. Here you see soprano Nina Rubanovic and her husband Grisha Rubanovic, who came from Narva, Estonia, and they often performed Weinstein's couplets. Grisha accompanied Nina on the mandolin. So they were very important for Weinstein, and also they were very good friends of his. And Weinstein worked also, collaborated with Jewish musicians, other Jewish musicians in Finland, especially jazz musicians. Many young Jews in Finland were pioneers in jazz music. Here you see Fred Klimszewski in the middle. He came from Turku, Åbo, and he was really one of the first jazz musicians in Finland. And he also was the musical director of Weinstein's operetta Millionaires from 1931. Other musicians, for instance, Cecilia Hammerman, often accompanied on the piano. She had studied piano in the St. Petersburg Conservatory. Here you see the festive hall of the Jewish school in Helsinki. This was the home stage of the Yiddische Dramatische Gesellschaft. They performed also in other larger halls, such as the Balder Hall on Alexander Street in Helsinki. The group also visited Viipuri, Viborg, and Turku, Åbo. And we will now hear beginning of a greeting song that often started the New Year's reviews by Weinstein. And this version you will hear was adapted to the Viipuri Jewish community, and it's from the late 1920s, early 1930s. So here it comes, Sholem Aleichem Eich.
Sholem Aleichem Eich, Rabbin sagt, wie euch geht. Efter kennt mir nicht, welcher du jetzt steht.
Ich bin von Helsingfors, a Jidl, was kommt zu euch mit a kleinem Liedl.
Sholem Aleichem Eich,
Rabbin sagt,
wie euch geht. Ich kann dem Ende zu sehen, da heint mir sehr freit.
Ich hoffe, als ihr werdet uns nicht streng kritisieren.
Und trotz unserer Fehler doch uns applaudieren.
Sholem Aleichem Eich, Rabbin sagt, wie euch geht.
So that was only the beginning. These are long, these songs, I tell you. Weinstein wrote especially reviews with songs and sketches that satirized local Jewish life. And these comic pieces were performed as part of Kleinkunst soirees and longer New Year's revues. In Yiddish, the word Kleinkunst literally means small art, but it often referred to revue or cabaret. And this was an in-genre in urban Yiddish-speaking communities in the 1920s and 30s. And it combined Europeanness with Yiddishkeit. It utilized modern plays, pop songs, as well as folk songs, folk tales, classic Yiddish plays. This picture is from a New Year's revue from 1926. You see here actors in Commedia dell'arte costumes. Also, the MCs are in blackface, which was very common those days in Finland. Today, of course, we understand the problematics around this better. Here also in the background, you see a black figure that, to my understanding, refers to Josephine Baker, who made her debut in 1926. So this kind of shows how Helsinki was part of Europe, part of that was taking place elsewhere, and it immediately kind of was on the stage, performed also in Helsinki. Here is a poster of a Kleinkunst soiree from 1926. And typically there were song numbers, there was dance, couplets, and short plays. And here you also see two names, Nechame Yekaterinoslavskaya and Avrom Hirschben Lezer Yitzhak Funarve. And these are kind of stage names of Nina Rubanovich and Grisha Rubanovich that we've mentioned already. Weinstein wrote his plays and songs in the local Yiddish dialect, and this, like I said, was very near to Lithuanian Yiddish. He also made a lot of parodies of Jewish Swedish and Jewish Finnish, which was typical for cabaret of those years. You would have similar parodies in Berlin or in New York. So this was very much part of that movement those days. Weinstein didn't write any music, so he used existing melodies, popular songs, melodies that everyone knew. That was important. So there are melodies from Yiddish folk music to operetta, from arias from the metropolis of Tsarist Russia and New York. Weinstein also uses Russian melodies, German foxtrots, couplets from Swedish revues. And these, many of these were kind of hits that were played in Helsinki in restaurants and in dance halls. They were also available as sheet music or recordings. And this kind of, the melodies of Weinstein's songs demonstrate this transnational dimension of his songs, influences from East and West. And we will soon hear one song with this melody, Constantinople, you see here in this picture. Weinstein wanted to portray his community as a vibrant and modern Jewish community. In the 1920s and 30s, the Jewish community in Helsinki was largely middle class, but still somewhat traditional and Yiddish speaking, and mostly keeping to its own circles. And Weinstein's song especially satirized the ups and downs of the Jewish clothing merchants. And many of these Jewish clothing merchants, they were really pioneers of selling ready-to-wear clothing. This was a new thing those days. And here in the picture, you see Grisha Rubanovich in his jacket shop in the center of Helsinki, next to Stockmann department store. This is in the mid-20s, I think. And we will now hear part of a song depicting the Jewish clothing merchants and wholesalers during the economic depression of the 1920s. And the song is called Das Liedl von die Konfektionären und Grossisten. So this confection is an important word here in Weinstein's songs. Confection is this ready to wear clothing. So now the beginning of the song of the wholesalers and clothing merchants.
Von Henriksgass und Hagneskaien laufen mir herum und mir schreien, es ist nicht gut.
Und von Robertsgasse laufen, gucken nicht mehr dort, etwas verkäufen, man lacht mit Blut.
Und der Säge schluckt doch bald doch zwei.
Und der Wachsel war doch nicht euwei.
Gemäche, Molke, Schmolke, Simke, Hirschke, Niskes, Roll. Gemäche, Molke, Schmolke, Simke, Hirschke, Niskes, Roll. Konfektionären und Grossisten, wir seien doch alle die Feinste von Stott.
Konfektionären und Grossisten, wir seien doch alle die Feinste von Stott.
Gemäche, Molke, Schmolke, Simke, Hirschke, Niskes, Roll.
In the 1920s, many Jewish merchants became successful, and this gave Weinstein an opportunity to satirize the life of the nouveau riche. We'll now hear the beginning of a satirical song about the bankruptcy of the Jewish Merchants Club, and it's called the Ballad of the Paradise Lost. They went bankrupt just because of having so big parties and drinking, and so this is how they went bust. And this was only the very exclusive. This was a very the kind of the best merchants had access to the club. Not everyone could enter. So now, beginning of this ballad with a Russian melody, Boy Lastochka Boy.
Damen und Choshewe Herren, ich will euch singen ein treuriges Lied. Meine Augen geworden blind von Tränen, meine Sorgen mir nicht geben kein Fried. Ich will singen in Sorgs und Leiden von unser jüdischen Handelsleitsklub. Sind's gewesen a lichtiger Ganeden und geworden a finstere Grube. Schenkt eine Dovele, schenkt, der Klub liegt in Orze und kränkt. Von allem Aselbruch, es ist geworden a Kadoches, schenkt eine Dovele, schenkt.
Simultaneously, Weinstein reminded his audience of their humble beginnings in the Jewish market, the so-called Narinka from Russian. And we'll now hear part of a rather touching song about the Jewish market when it was closed in 1929. The market was a reminder of the difficult times during the Russian rule, of the anti-Semitic laws and restrictions the Jewish community suffered during that time. So here, Der Yiddischer Markt, the Jewish market, and the melodies by Michael Winograd.
Täglich sei früh und sei spät, a Namen, was klingt nicht geben.
Man macht mit dem Kopf, wenn es von es redt, weil dem Namen will keiner nicht leben.
Von a finsteren Ghetto es hat a Geruch und von ihre eiserne Zaumen,
von Spott und Verfolgung und Leiden und Fluch. Der Yiddischer Markt ist der Name.
Trefft einem von euch, Chalile Bechas, a Unglück und ist gefallen geworden.
Je einen von euch, was mit Schande und Hass hat sich gar von Ort abgeschworen.
A runter von Mut mit vertretenden Blick, sagt, weiß ihr, was tut
Zum Yiddischen Markt kehrt sich zurück wie zu weinen der Mutter. Der Yiddischer Markt, wer weiß nicht von dem, von die Dosike Jankes Gesellten, wo unsere Idolach, Baruch Hashem, sich matern in Hitzen und Kälten. Wer weiß nicht, wer kennt nicht den Yiddischen Markt, wer kennt nicht die Dosike Zwiebeln, ihr alle derselbe Yeshiva.
The couplets in Weinstein's New Year's Review from 1930 humorously describe the existential crisis the Jewish community suffered, and this was during the economic depression of the late 1920s. The one-sidedness of the Jewish trade caused a lot of friction within the community. And same time, Finnish anti-Semites were accusing Jews of monopoly of the clothing trade, and also they questioned their business ethics. And by addressing these issues with biting humor, Weinstein offered the community a way to deal with these difficult situations and to gain a momentary relief. His songs deal also with other social issues of the community, especially the challenges of maintaining an Orthodox Jewish lifestyle with ever-increasing secularization. This tension led to clashes between the Orthodox and the more secular members of the community, and the songs deal with disputes over keeping shops open on Shabbat, the challenges of recruiting Orthodox rabbis, and challenges of producing kosher meat or providing kosher meat. And the songs show how the traditional Jewish way of life had to give way to modern customs and new trends. And we'll now hear beginning of a song called Der Spogelneuer Rov, the brand new rabbi, about the challenges of finding a new rabbi in Finland.
Hoi liebeke hele Leid,
Ihr weiß, es ist nicht fein. Und was für Rabatei?
Corona Rov zu sein, an neuem Rov mir müssen doch
Schaffen Sof, an neuem feinem Rov, a Spogel neuem Rov, a Spogel neuem Rov.
a kleinem Engelchen schickt.
Fliegt daher hin, da in Paris
Und bald ich in Berlin, schreibt der Brief, als ist Gott zu danken toll.
Hat für unser Rov, a Spogel neuem Rov, a Spogel neuem Rov, a Himmel kommt zu.
To my understanding, that's a shimi, the melody. So as one sign of these changes, Weinstein satirizes how jazz and other popular rhythms displaced traditional Eastern European klezmer melodies. We'll now hear part of a sketch called Heike Chort and Sipe Grune from around 1930. When we were doing the CD, and two actors, Janina Berman and Carmela Grasutis, performed the roles of Heike Chort and Sipe Grune. Janina and Carmela both have been active in the Yiddish theater in Helsinki. And after the dialogue, Heike Chort and Sipe Grune, they dance a traditional Jewish quadrille, a sher. And they use a chicken as a handkerchief when they dance. So now let's listen to the dialogue.
Oh, Heike, seid ihr da? Von wann geht ihr?
Von Mark versteht sich. Von wann kann jeden gehen? Von wann geht ihr?
Von Jatke versteht sich. Von wann kann jeden gehen? Heike leben.
Zipedrone, Odzet, hab ich gekauft a Huhn, getiert ab. Nu, was sagt ihr?
Was soll ich sagen? Auf mir als ein Jahr? Fette wie unser Regisseur. Nur wie komm ich zu kaufen hiner? Genug Geld geht als ich. Da das, da Jens. Da macht sich gar a Säuerei. Darf man doch gehen? Wie geht man das nicht auf a Säuerei? Man ist doch etwas ait.
Ach, was ist bei den jetzigen Säuereien? Mir stehen's gesagt. Nicht sie zu säue. Die verzeitige Simche seinen Tage gewesen Simches. Und jetzt ist was? Adrea hin und Adrea her, chemisch, bimi, jetzt Platz. Zu Platz soll es werden. Anders ist gewesen, wenn wir haben getanzt. Ihr gedenkt?
So that was a traditional share called Unser Teurele. Weinstein also addresses concerns about the future of the younger generation without education. Very few continued to continue their education after the Jewish school, and they ended up in the clothing industry or the clothing shops. And we'll now hear beginning of a very ironic lullaby from 1930 about the youth's future prospects. And this is called a Wiegenlied, a lullaby. And this is a very old traditional melody called Schlaf mein Kind.
Schlaf mein Naches, schlaf mein Schöner, seht euch wie es gewährt, gleich zu dir nicht noch einer in der ganzen Welt. Warum hast du bei deiner Mutter, warum in ihr Scheiß? Wer weiß, ob du sein a Guter, wenn du's werden kreist? Wie der Tate wirst du leben in a finstern Krom. Nehmen, was der Wind wird geben, gehen mit dem Strom. Du wirst wie a Pfeil von a Beiden, laufen wie a und wirst glotzen mit die Augen, da mer geht a Kuhn.
Sports was one of the key arenas of integration, enabling interaction with the majority population. And in 1929, the Jewish sports club Stjärnan, the Star, tried to join the National League of Football and failed. We'll now hear from a humorous and ironic song about Stjärnan's football game that they lost. And it's called A Stern från bollplan, the star from the football field. And the melody is from an old operetta from New York, and the melody is called Von Spanien, from Spain. And this is theremin, the instrument you hear. Rob Schwimmer playing.
Von Boplan komm ich, verwundet, verschwitzt. Dort hab ich die Ehre von Schörnen geschützt. Mein Fuß ist zu blutigt, zu trasket mein Hand. Oi, brüderlich, schwesterlich, tab ich avant. Oi, brüderlich, schwesterlich, tab ich avant. Auf dem Plan bin ich eins gewesen, a Held. Ich hab geschleudert den Ball weit über den Feld. Ist gekommen von hinten a Gaslen, a Goy und hat a Brücke getan in mein Oi, 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 und hat a Brücke getan in mein Oi, 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 oi.
I have to admit or tell that actually the Jewish football team managed to get into National League the year after, and this was like a really, really big thing for the small community. During the Second World War, Weinstein continued to create shows on the home front, and during the so-called Continuation War, which lasted until September 1944, Jews of Finland found themselves in a very special or peculiar situation, fighting as brothers in arms with their worst enemies, the Nazis. So far, I've found only one song that describes the Jewish soldiers in Finland, and this is called Tief is die Nacht, dark is the night, and it describes the thoughts of a Finnish Jewish soldier on the front. The melody is from a Soviet song, Темная ночь, dark is the night. And this song became very popular in Finland after the Moscow armistice in September 1944. So here, the beginning of the song, Tief is die Nacht, dark is the night, and this is a tango melody.
Tief ist die Nacht, nur die Sterne sich sehen in der Heich. Meine Schome von ist schwer. Und mein Herz von viel Bänke. Tief ist die Nacht, wie der Gär wird sein, weiß ich nicht, wenn es wieder wird aufgehen die Sonne, oder Tät oder Leben. Arum und arum, hört sich nur von Kanonen der Arum, arum, is es Jomer und ewiges Leiden. Tief ist die Nacht, nur die Sterne, sie gucken auf mir und sie fragen, für was und für wen, nur ein vergibt keinen.
The activity of the Jewish Dramatic Society gradually faded away. The use of Yiddish in the cultural life of the Jewish community gave way to Swedish and later to Finnish. Weinstein, however, he continued to write songs and couplets for various events, especially of the Jewish associations in Helsinki. And he died at the age of 93 in 1976. To end this presentation, we'll hear beginning of Weinstein's couplet Chaim Yankel from the late 1950s, early 1960s. And this is the last song known by him. And it's an adaptation of a Swedish schlager called Klas Göran. And this is Lil Bab's song from the late 1950s. And here you'll hear Sasha Luria singing it together with singers from the Finnish band Värtinä. So, Chaim Yankel.
Chaim Yankel, mein Teire, sag eib du noch klärst wegen mir. Ich sitz in der Heim und ich denk noch, Tag und Nacht ich nur tracht wegen dir. Warum schreibst nicht zu mir, Chaim Yankel? Bin ich mehr nicht in Herz bei dir? Wenn du bist gefahren, kein Amerika, hast gesagt, du wirst schicken nach mir. Es ist 20 Jahre schön, wie bist du weg mit dem Schiff. Es ist schön Zeit, Chaim Yankel, mir zu schreiben, ein Brief. Chaim Yankel, mein Teire, so ey du noch klärst bei mir. Ich sitz in der Heim und ich weg noch, Tag und Nacht ich noch tracht wegen dir in Amerika.
And so on. Here, it's possible to buy the CD online. There's various versions, but someone asked about the lyrics, and actually the lyrics are in this 70-page booklet. They are in Yiddish, in Latinized Yiddish, and in English translation. So it's worthwhile getting the actual CD with the booklet. Thank you. This was everything I had prepared for you tonight.
Herzlichen Dank, Simon. Äußerst gewöhnlich schein. Wie man pflegt zu sagen auf Jiddisch, hast du uns gemacht, Jonte von der Wochen. It was a true pleasure. So excellent. A herzlichen Dank. And for the next coming, hope to see you soon. We may say also, I'm saying in English, Chag Pesach Sameach, a freilichen Pesach, a kuscheren Pesach. Für dir und für jeder, was ist du heint mit uns auf der Nacht. A herzlichen Dank, Simo, und a Shekoyach, a gesund auf dein Körper, wie meine Mama hat gepflegt zu.
A großen Dank.